What do you do when your bright, funny, talented child begins to slip away into unpredictable moods you can't explain? What do you do when you're told it's not just a phase, not just hormones, not just a tough year? What do you do when a doctor looks you in the eye and says, "Your child has bipolar disorder"? What happens when your child is diagnosed with bipolar disorder? Join us on Bipolar Talks for a deeply personal and mindful conversation about the challenges, fears, and hope that come with this life-changing diagnosis. From the first signs to navigating treatment, stigma, and acceptance, this episode offers real stories and practical insights for parents and caregivers facing a similar journey. Today, on Bipolar Talks, we take a deep, mindful journey through one parent's experience, mine, with the diagnosis that changed everything. You're listening to Bipolar Talks, the podcast where we explore mental health with depth, honesty, and care. If this episode resonates with you or someone you know, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Your engagement helps others feel less alone. Segment 1. The moment it all began. I still remember the day the counselor called. It was a Thursday. Normal, uneventful, until it wasn't. "Hi, something happened in class today. We're concerned." My daughter, 13 years old. Quirky, wildly creative, smart, a little shy, but nothing out of the ordinary, at least not yet. But in the months before that call, things had changed. Sudden outbursts, wild energy, weeks without proper sleep, grand plans to start her own fashion line, then days she wouldn't get out of bed. We thought it was adolescence, stress, maybe even gifted kid burnout. But the counselor's voice cracked something open in me. This wasn't just a phase. This was something bigger. Segment 2. Stumbling through the unknown. We began what I now call the diagnostic shuffle. Pediatrician, therapist, neurologist, psychiatrist. Back to another psychiatrist. Each professional gave us a new lens. It's ADHD. No, it's depression. Could be anxiety. Have you tried removing gluten? Maybe she's just dramatic. Some dismissed her entirely. Others gave us vague terms like mood dysregulation or emotional intensity. I felt like I was chasing shadows in the dark. Meanwhile, my daughter was spiraling. She once stayed up 3 nights in a row painting murals across her walls, beautiful, terrifying art. Another time, she broke down sobbing because her shoelaces looked too sad. What was happening to her mind? Was I failing her by not figuring this out faster? Segment 3. The diagnosis we didn't want but needed. It was the 5th psychiatrist, one who specialized in pediatric mood disorders, who finally said it. "Your daughter meets the criteria for bipolar disorder. Most likely bipolar 2, possibly evolving into bipolar I. We'll continue observing." I felt my world tilt. Part of me was relieved. We had a name, a map finally. But another part of me broke. Bipolar? Isn't that a lifelong condition? Will she ever be okay? Will she be able to go to college? Fall in love? Get a job? Live independently? The fears came rushing in. And then came the grief. I grieved the version of her childhood I had imagined. The ease, the normalcy, the simplicity of navigating puberty without a heavy mental illness diagnosis. And then I reminded myself, she's still her. She's still here. And now we can start to help her properly. Segment 4. The mountains no one warns you about. They don't tell you what happens after the diagnosis. They don't tell you that treatment takes time and trial. That the first mood stabilizer might make her vomit every morning. That the second might make her gain weight rapidly, or flatten her personality until she's barely recognizable. They don't tell you your insurance might refuse coverage for the exact doctor who finally gets it. That you'll have to argue with school administrators about accommodations. That some family members will tell you you're being too dramatic. Or worse, that you've caused it. They don't tell you that you'll spend nights Googling clinical studies and Reddit threads with tears streaming down your face. They don't tell you how lonely it is. Segment 5. The battle between shame and acceptance. There were days I didn't tell people. When other parents talked about their kids' grades or sports wins, I stayed quiet. What was I supposed to say? That's great. Mine's navigating hypomania and trying a new antipsychotic. There's so much shame built around childhood bipolar. Some think it doesn't even exist. Others believe it's just the product of bad parenting. But the truth is, this is a brain disorder. It affects mood regulation, energy, sleep, judgment, and reality perception. And the truth is also this: my daughter is more than her diagnosis. She is fierce, hilarious, compassionate, and bold. She is still her. The bipolar is just part of the story, not the whole book. Segment 6. Finding our rhythm. Slowly we found what worked. A psychiatrist who listens and adjusts treatment with care. A therapist who sees her genius behind the chaos. A school counselor who checks in weekly. A mood tracking app that helps us spot patterns. A sleep schedule we try to maintain. We learned what triggers mania. Lack of sleep. Overstimulation. Emotional overwhelm. Even too much praise, ironically. We learned what depression looks like in her. Disappearing into music. Saying she's nothing. Sleeping 14 hours. Drawing rain clouds for hours. It's not perfect. Never will be. But it's real. It's working. And it's ours. Segment 7. What I wish I knew. If I could go back and whisper something to myself on that day of diagnosis, it would be this: you're not a bad parent. You didn't miss anything. You're doing the best you can, and it's enough. And to any parent listening, I say, let go of the guilt. Drown out the judgment. Educate yourself. Knowledge is power. Build a support system, even if it's just one other person who gets it. And celebrate every small victory. Because in this journey, victories look different. Sometimes they look like your child taking their meds without protest. Sometimes they look like laughter after a hard week. Sometimes they look like survival. And that's enough. Segment 8. Living with, not against. We no longer talk about beating bipolar. We talk about living with it. About understanding it, working with the rhythms, protecting her light. We talk about how her creativity is stunning. How her empathy is deep. How, yes, she's intense. But that intensity can be powerful when channeled well. We talk about boundaries, medications, therapy, and hope. This is not a tragedy. This is not the end. This is simply our path. Segment 9. To my daughter. To the girl who changed my life. I see you. Not just your symptoms, not just your struggles. You are not a diagnosis. You are a force. You are a mosaic of chaos and calm, fire and focus. You are still growing, still glowing. Still showing me what it means to love without fear. I'm proud of you, and I'm here no matter what. You've been listening to another mindful episode of Bipolar Talks. If this story resonated with you, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Someone out there is in the dark, waiting to hear a voice that says, you're not alone. Hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest episodes about real experiences, science, and support in living with bipolar disorder. And remember, this video is for informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional advice. Please consult a qualified mental health expert for diagnosis, treatment, or support. Until next time, stay compassionate, stay curious, and stay connected.